Hi everyone, this is Penny, and I plan to work my video around the first audio, change is necessary. As stated in the previous discussion, I wanted to incorporate in a split screen of negative and positive impacts that are discussed within the audio. When listening to the audio and reading its transcript, I said previously or mentioned within the notes that I attached that I thought the brief was more targeted towards the earth and how our net negative impacts are causing the downfall, hence why change is needed to accomplish net positive impacts. So the first thing I looked into and researched was some color. Here I have 3 color palette options to pick between, but I'm already planning on using number 3 for the more earthy areas of the video since it is a lot brighter and in my opinion will show the more positive aspect that can be left behind. However, I am stuck going between 1 and 2 for the negative impacts. I am leaning more towards number 1 since it is a bit darker and can show the blandness and death of certain aspects within nature that are going to be negatively affected. Number 2, on the other hand, is brighter in colors compared to number 1, but not as bright as number 3, so I believe it could still show the message. However, I'm going back and forth about the greens. Although they are muted down, I don't know if they would work as well. So as of this moment, I plan to use palettes 1 and 3 moving forward. As stated previously, again, one effect and style I wanted to incorporate in is the split screen to show 2 ways of how Earth or nature will look, with one side giving a better representation of net negative impacts versus the net positive impacts mirroring it. I plan to use the bottom 3 graphics as inspiration on how I want to do this, but then the top image I would like to recreate on my own and have the split effect. I thought this would be the best way of showing both impacts, as the video goes on, it will change depending on the scenario. The next graphic that I plan to add in is for the question in the audio saying, but how are these things ever going to change? And this graphic I want to have a person with question marks over their head, so it would be a better transition into the actual steps that are going to be talked about. Here I have some basic inspiration that I want to base around. I plan to use my color scheme with these, but I want to have my options open with it. And I didn't know if I wanted to go flat design with minimal detail or no detail at all. I am thinking of creating a graphic similar to the bottom center with a flat design, no detail in the face, one person using greens and the color palette that I have, and a half body aspect. This next slide is the inspiration that I want to use for the minimal graphics that will come from time to time. On the left is going to be graphic inspiration for each step on how we are going to go about designing and finding ways to achieve net positive impacts. I understand that a lot of my peers may go about using this type of graphic, so I also added in the top left corner a list-like format that will contain each step instead of having each step come individually. I could reuse this graphic and have it reappear before the next step to create a checklist-like graphic. On the right side is the second step, since it is more of a train effect. The second step in the audio talks about identifying, debunking, and rejecting. But for my graphic, I want to have actual illustrations instead of these words that are going to end up leading to the final result. And this graphic would also be used for step 3's answers. This next slide contains the inspiration that I want to use within the step 3 area of the audio. In this area, it talks about mindsets, and I wanted to create a graphic that's going to show the 2 mindsets when it comes to change. When I was looking into the graphics, many of them contained a light bulb, but I felt as if that didn't fit. I then came across graphics such as the top left, top center, and bottom left that contained a form of nature and also had a lock to show the locked up version. And this was to represent a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. However, with the video I plan to create, I want to use the graphics to show the mindsets of being able to change and not being able to change. Finally, I wanted to research the types of styles to use. Many of the graphic inspiration that I showed are more flat design based, and I think that it is the way I was planning to go. However, the graphic in the top right caught my eye because there's such minimal texture and to show the detailing within the cities, buildings, and the trees. Then in the bottom right, there is completely one-colored graphics that can be shown to make a simple and straightforward video, but I can feel it being too bland. Then on the top right, bottom and right, I have the flat design style that I plan to go along with similar color scheme to show you what I plan to do. I think that this would be the best way since I can use the different colors to show negative and positive, but then also adding detail and shading in where it is needed.